Hello, dear innovation community, and very welcome to our second AVL Creators Lounge. My name is Daniel Vicevic, and it is my pleasure to moderate this evening again together with Giorgia Carbone, part of the Italian Creators Expedition team at AVL. Giorgia, welcome.
Hello and welcome everybody, even from the Creators Expedition team, to this second round of the Creators Launch.
Fantastic. We're going to be talking about content. Immediately, it's going to be about how to tackle environmental challenges with open innovation, with innovation and collaboration. Excited to hear about that. But before we deep dive into the content of today's day, maybe just some insights on the platform that we are using, the Vertly. You're going to have the opportunity to interact with us, and we kindly ask you to ask us questions for the panels. In the Q&A session, we'll integrate Slido, and you don't have to register extra, so just use Slido to pass the questions to us, and we'll pass it to the panels as well. At the same time, in the same menu field, you have the networking area, which you can use at the end of the panel to interact with startups. At the very beginning, there's an AVL startup landscape, where you can see all the startups who are going to be pitching tonight. Really, really exciting deep tech startups, super founders that are here. So please use the opportunity to inform yourself about it. There's also an agenda button just to see, for your orientation, what we're up to today. Let's try out the Slido, and let's try out the interaction with our first question for you today. What city are you joining us from today? I'd be curious to understand where you're joining us from not from which country, but from which city. And while you answer this question, Giorgia, what is the content of this event? What are we up to today?
Well, Creators Launch aims to exchange ideas, experiences, key learnings coming from the interaction between startups and corporates, also between corporates. And so, well, we set up this startup landscape where you can learn more about startups, about what we have done with them, what we have achieved. And you can also ask questions to speakers. You can talk to us. So that's a moment to exchange your experiences with us.
And we saw it already at the first event in April. You started building up a community around the topics that are there. So you're also contributing to the open innovation ecosystem.
Absolutely. That's the reason why we decided to replicate this event, because we got a lot of insights on also what the others are doing in this field.
5 startups will be pitching today, and you will be, so to say, announcing them. Then you will have a keynote. What will your keynote be about?
Yes, I will talk a little bit about hydrogen, what is going on in this area, what is the potential of hydrogen, and what will come later in the next years.
And then the first panel will be dealing with hydrogen ecosystems as well, with super use cases, how to interact and collaborate around the topic of hydrogen, which is actually impossible to tackle if we don't collaborate nowadays.
Yes, exactly. We need to collaborate. We need to work on ecosystems. That's the only way we have to face these environmental challenges.
Fantastic. And then the second panel will be also talking about emission and resource tracking, a lot of collaboration between big corporates, Microsoft with us, and 2 super exciting startups with AVL, and we'll wrap it up then with Sebastian at the end of this event.
Yes, we will get some insights also from AVL colleagues.
Perfect. So let's have a look on where our audience is joining from today. So we have Graz #1, it's not surprising. Passau, hello to Germany. Vorarlberg, hello. Erlangen, Vienna, Wien, Linz, Lauterach. Yeah, fantastic. So we have mainly the German-speaking ecosystem tonight.
Exactly.
I think that the topic of hydrogen and also collaboration is actually gaining a lot of publicity and a lot of interest in German-speaking area. I've seen quite a few corporates joining this. Do you feel the topic arising as well?
Yes, sure. Also in Italy, I see a lot of interest in this topic in hydrogen. It seems that corporates are now investing a lot on investigating technology around hydrogen. So it seems a very interesting topic at the moment.
Yeah, and we hope that we can make a contribution to this topic today as well. For those of you who joined us later, welcome from our studio again. Maybe just a few organizational insights. We're going to be interacting via Slido in your Q&A section today. So we integrated Slido there. We're going to be checking it here with us. So please join the Q&A session for questions, and we'll pass them over to the panels once we start. And you have also the opportunity to visit all startups that are here today with us at AVL startup landscape. There's a button there, startups. If you click on it, you'll see the landscape, and you can click on the startup to gain information about that. And at the end of the event, very important, we will have networking possibilities with the startups after those panels. So they're there as well to interact with people. Also, startups need to collaborate. Obviously, they need to work with big corporates so that they can execute projects.
For sure, I think startups are fundamental to create this ecosystem. So who better than young and innovative companies can help us, can help corporates to develop new solutions and technologies. So startups are fundamental.
Yeah, fantastic, and that's the perfect bridge to our next point, to 5 pitches of really, really exciting startups. I'd ask you to take over, George, and maybe announce the first startup who will be pitching right now.
So let's move now to the startup pitch session. The first startup pitch comes from an interesting technology, an interesting startup who is dealing with CO2 reduction and energy efficiency. I leave the stage to Nista.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna and I'm co-founder of Nista.io. What do? We provide energy efficiency as a service. As you know, energy costs at the moment are drastically rising. An average industrial company can expect additional energy costs of 2.5 million euros in Germany next year. And also the price for offsetting CO2 increases drastically. And rumor has it that this trend is not going to change anytime soon. With Nista.io, we want to help industrial companies to save 20% of their yearly energy costs regularly and based on their data. What is the problem here? Today, energy efficiency often correlates with one-off consultancy projects. Somebody has an idea, an external expert comes into the company and has to start from zero, learning what the facility needs, what was done already, where the data lies, and so on. As you can imagine, those are mostly inefficient manual processes. With Nista.io, we want to stop this. Nista.io is a software platform where you can drop the data that you already have, starting from a little to a lot. You get a quick overview of how much energy you're using at a certain time. And more specifically, you get insights on a daily basis on how to really act more efficient, what to do in order to save energy. As I already said, what does that look like? With the data that you provide us, we give you a quick overview, like a health tracker, on how much energy you're using at what certain time, and how much we think your yearly savings potential is. In order to really leverage this potential, we give you clear action steps based on your sensor data on what to do in order to save energy. And with every action step, we give you the potential that we assume. If it's wrong or if it's right, you can comment, Nista learns, and we get better and better in giving you more insights. As I already said, we drill deeper to get to the bottom of questions. We ask the right questions at the right times to learn about your interaction in the facility and to give you even more insights on how to save more energy. And also, we're not the best in every use case. We're the platform that connects you with the best experts of use cases. So don't worry about finding the right experts for the right use case. Nista.io is your one-stop shop, and we take care of the network. So what does set us apart and why we're not just the next energy monitoring tool? We give you specific insights based on your behavior. We have AI-driven identification in order to be faster. We have a scalable solution. So whatever works in one facility might as well work in the next facility. And we have this network of experts that help us to even understand better what's going on and not to start from zero every single time. We have 3 founders, Benjamin, Anna, and Marcus, from the background as mechanical engineering, environmental technologies, and software development. We have our mentors, investors, and advisors, and a strong network that supports us. But most importantly, we have an amazing team of engineers and designers that want to change the world with us. And what also makes us win is a strong network of partners, supporters, and also already customers. So let's work together to make energy efficiency not a one-off project, but a daily habit.
Thank you, Nista. The next startup on the list operates in the area of data security. But let's hear directly from them the benefit of this technology. Next startup is Tributech.
Hi, my name is Thomas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tributech, and I would like to talk today about data poisoning and why it is the next big cyber threat. We at Tributech offer a technology platform that adds a whole new level of data security. Why is this relevant? So there's an increasing relevance of data and data ecosystems. Digital transformation projects are kicking in, companies are developing data services, new platforms, and other applications that utilize the huge value covered in data. And the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, even stated that data should be on the balance sheet someday because it is a critical and relevant business asset. But with this increasing relevance of data, it becomes also a huge target for attacks. So why is this a huge problem for companies? Because there's a new threat out there and it's called data poisoning. And the problem with data poisoning is that even a little poisoned data can have a huge impact on the business success, on the data model, on the application, and the decision making made on top of that. So there was a study conducting the impact of poisoned data on an image recognition model identifying an airplane or a frog. And 0.1% poisoned data was enough to create an 80% failure rate. So it's not business critical if there's a frog or an airplane on the picture, but imagine if it's a stop sign or a speed limit. There's a huge difference how the car would react. And less than 2% poisoned data is enough that a stop sign is identified as a speed limit. And there are other examples for different applications that rely on training data and historical data to optimize themselves or initially train it. There was a study with the Google spam filter, and 1% poisoned data was enough for 90% failure rate. So in our opinion, data poisoning is worse than ransomware. Because imagine the impact on your business if poisoned data influences your decision making, because the attacker will not tell you that he poisoned your data. There's an example from an article in Bloomberg a couple of months back where Russian hackers attacked the electrical grid in the US, so in a small state in the US, where they used fake sensor data to confuse the operators making the crucial decisions and force a blackout. And also Gartner posted that a huge part of the AI cyber attacks in the future will be training data poisoning. So attacking the future success of the data services built on top of that. Tributech offers a solution to detect poisoned data immediately and protect your data values. How do we do that? We add a whole new level of data security. So previously, a lot of companies focused on physical protection of data, encrypting it, having access control solutions available, data loss prevention mechanisms, and also some classification and monitoring stuff within the company. What we do is we add also the data poisoning prevention part and protect the value and data itself, making origin and integrity of the data tamper-proof at any point in time in the future and at any point of the data pipeline. So we are a complementary solution to the existing vendors on the market. What does our technology do exactly? We help our clients to collect, transmit, and share data in a selective and tamper-proof way. So integrate a various amount of a broad variety of data sources, notarize it at source, distribute it to the backend, and then use it before, verify it before using it in a data service. Here's an overview of the threats and system failures we can detect. So we can detect man-in-the-middle attacks, data sabotage attacks, false data injection, and also spoofing. And some certain system failures can also be monitored and detected by our technology. If there's something wrong with the connectivity during data processing, during data storage, or synchronizing the data from point A to B. We are a channel-focused company, having partners across the globe and onboarding them at the moment to really support our clients wherever they need our technology on the world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tributech, for the interesting presentation. Let's now move to the next startup, which is operating in the area of autonomous systems and artificial intelligence. I leave the stage to Deep Scenario.
Hi everybody, I'm Neji, co-founder of Deep Scenario. Our vision is to enable training and testing of autonomous systems at scale. There has been significant technological and regulatory progress in the development of ADAS and automated driving functionalities. However, there is still something which prevents this system from scaling, and that's training and testing. So the systems need to behave safely in the open world context. That means there are no clear system boundaries. The traffic is changing from one location to the others. So significant amount of data is required for the training and testing process. We at Deep Scenario develop a unique computer vision engine that can reconstruct traffic data at scale from any stationary camera. Our highly accurate real-world data can be used in several applications around training, testing, and validation of ADAS and automated driving functionalities. For example, learning of decision-making algorithms, or generating test cases for these functionalities, or defining requirements for validation. So our solution is 10 times cheaper and 50 times faster compared to current approaches to collect statistically significant amount of data with test fleets. How does our product work? We combine the real world with simulation. We focus on stationary cameras, so these hours of video data from these cameras are fed into our AI-powered scenario engine, which processes this data in a highly automated way. Firstly, it reconstructs the static environment, and then it detects all the dynamic objects in 3D just based from a molecular camera, which is unique in the industry. In the second step, then relevant edge cases are filtered out and then fed into the customer's simulation environment. There, the customer can train and test against these real-world scenarios and develop key insights, which KPIs are fulfilled and what do they need to do better to release their systems faster to the road. So here you can see an output of our AI scenario engine. On the left-hand side, you see the 3D bounding boxes, which are extracted from our pipeline, and these bounding boxes are in 3D. So we extract the length, height, width of each of the objects. On the right-hand side, you can see the 3D reconstruction, and the color coding corresponds to the detected class, for example, a truck, trailer, or a car, motorbike, and so on. And here the customer was particularly interested in merging scenarios on the interstate. We have done this in a double-digit number of locations across the globe, for example, Germany, US, Sweden, and also across ODDs. For example, some customers are particularly interested in urban environment, but some are interested to train their highway pilot and so on. So our pipeline scales to any locations in the world. And what we have realized through our experience in the market is that the real world goes beyond human imagination. Our real-world scenarios generalize to multiple applications across training, testing, and validation. Our solution is already being used by industry-wide known customers to accelerate their training and testing pipeline, particularly for the development of ADAS and automated driving functionalities. If you want to learn more about our offerings, please reach out to us. You can also find more information on our website or on our LinkedIn channel. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Deep Scenario. So let's stay in the area of artificial intelligence, but this time with a focus on deep learning. The next startup on the stage is Neural Concept.
Hello everyone, my name is Pierre Baquet. I'm the founder and CEO of Neural Concept. And today I'm going to talk to you about engineering intelligence and what we do at Neural Concept for the industry. How can we use computers to accelerate the pace of discovery? And that's going to be the topic of the discussion today. In nature, time and the evolution of species unveils the most resilient specimen. In the technical domain, this role is taken upon by the collaboration and the competition between thousands of engineers and inventors. But progress remains a crawling process, moving at a slow and uncertain rhythm. Can we cut through the steady progress of time? The challenges that are facing humanity today are making this quest urgent and essential. Each engineering question can be answered by multiple solutions, different designs, different trade-offs that are each very different. One of the first historical tasks of computers was to solve differential equations for the simulations, for instance, of flight ballistics and for weather forecasting. Today, simulations have grown in range of applicability. Simulations are now exploited in every field of engineering for almost any kind of physics and are able to replace experiments most of the time. However, two issues arise. First, simulations remain slow and reserved to expert users. A typical simulation can take hours to complete and lacks robustness. Furthermore, design engineers are limited by human cognitive capabilities and biases, which makes it difficult to come up with radically new and better solutions. Neural Concept, the company that I co-founded, is determined to solve one problem, accelerating the pace of innovation in engineering. And we are betting in one specific technology that has already transformed so many other fields of science and human creativity: deep neural networks. So here is a picture of the team that is behind this adventure. We are around a bit more than 30 people, most of the team based in Switzerland, but we also have collaborators in Munich and in other places around the world. I will give you first a very practical example of the applications of our technology. On September 13, 2019, two riders broke the human-powered vehicle world speed record in two different categories using a new aerodynamic bicycle, which is a shelled bicycle, going up to 136.7 kilometers per hour. And a big part of the success of this team was attributed to the exceptional aerodynamics of the bicycle that they had designed. And this bicycle was designed using a new and innovative technique at the time, so it was in 2018 that we were almost testing for the first time. Instead of working directly with the CFD analyst team, as it was traditionally the case, the designer, Guillaume de France, who is also the team manager, started to test a new technique with Neural Concept, where instead of iterating with the CFD analyst, he was interacting with an AI system that was giving him very fast and very quick answer for his optimization request and his also his simulation request, while the CFD analyst could work in a let's say dephased way by providing data to the AI and training the AI that was then used by Guillaume. And this led to much smoother and reactive process that then allowed to have this kind of fantastic aerodynamics. Concretely, this AI system that you saw on the middle, it's a deep neural network, a geometric convolutional neural network that is a technology that is able to learn from geometry and simulation results. More concretely, we are able to take geometries in the form of CAD geometries and simulation results in the form of simulation outputs in any native simulation format, and learn to go directly from the CAD geometry to the simulation without rerunning the simulation, without rerunning the actual simulation, but in a much faster way. So these are two examples of like this is an example of the type of prediction that we can make, comparing the prediction and the ground truth in our interface. Once you have validated and that you're confident with the accuracy of the model that you have trained and that you know that it can provide good accuracy, you can use it for design tasks. And for instance, you can connect it to a CAD system for real-time physics-based insight directly from the CAD system for the designer. This technology is being very quickly adopted by manufacturing companies, and it's responding to some critical business challenges, such as the need to have a smaller and smaller lot size to respond for the need for customization, to accelerate the release cycles with the automotive industry, that, for instance, that is now aiming for 2 years release cycles. the increase in competition between suppliers, between also OEMs, where the product performance is becoming more and more a key to the success of the companies. Having already advanced simulation capabilities that allow to build on top in terms of capabilities, and to start thinking of developing the next step of simulation, and also the really great impressive capabilities of deep learning techniques for the type of simulations that are used in many industries. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and I will be happy to talk to you in the networking session at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Neural Concept. Well, let's close this session with the last startup pitch. This startup is working on the range prediction of hybrid and electric vehicles. So I leave now the stage to Spark EV.
At Spark, we develop and supply personalized range prediction software for zero-emission vehicles. Our patented prediction engine utilizes advanced physics models and machine learning algorithms that adapt to each driver, vehicle, and journey. We are revenue generating and working with major OEMs to license and deploy our technology on upcoming vehicle programs globally. Our leadership team has over 65 years of experience developing and scaling software companies in a variety of different sectors, culminating in 5 exits via a trade sale and 1 IPO to date. An EV today typically estimates range by looking into the past and assuming an extrapolation of average energy is sufficient to estimate how far you can go next. This approach doesn't factor in who's driving the vehicle, where it's going next, and other important factors which can influence battery life. This leads to an underestimation of range remaining, sitting on a charger for longer than is necessary and not undertaking that journey. On the other side of the problem, we have overestimation of range, which can leave commercial vehicles, the driver and their goods stranded, what we know in the industry as range anxiety. A detailed research report from Castrol in 2020 showed that inaccurate range and poor range management was the #1 reason for commercial vehicles not moving over to EVs. Real-world trials with multiple OEM customers have shown prediction errors for a single journey of over 48 kilometers, whereas Spark can predict energy for a journey to an accuracy of within 2 kilometers, a marked improvement. Spark provides the data for the user interface to show the driver, either as a range number, journey prediction, or as a map overlay, which can be deployed as part of the vehicle instrument cluster or as a mobile phone application. We deliver consistent predictions across the entire customer life cycle. Now, our value proposition is strongest with commercial vehicles, as there is inadequate charging infrastructure at the moment. Complex calculations are required, which can include refrigeration, other auxiliary loads, and large variances in payload with multiple drivers using single vehicles at a time. Commercial fleets need reliable range predictions to successfully transition to electric and ensure they remain competitive. We're looking for customer introductions to commercial vehicle OEMs to help scale our business and fulfill our mission. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you to all 5 startups. Great pitches, great technologies, great teams, and you have the opportunity to visit them at the startup button that you have on your event link at the AVL Startup Landscape. On the other side of our studio, Georgia is already ready for her Impulse keynotes. Georgia, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Well, as we said during our introduction, the reason why we are here today is to discuss and exchange ideas on how to face the environmental challenges. Well, we are all called to make a contribution. Corporates, startups, innovators, institutions, we all need to share and work on this important mission. As the President von der Leyen said, the transition cannot wait. Well, this global transition is strongly impacting the transportation sector. We are currently facing the biggest transformation in the history of the automotive industry. And so the OEMs, as well as the main players in the industry, are investing and already invested large amounts to develop and implement innovative and greener solutions. So that's the time for innovation to become a central part of the current and future strategies. We see so many new technologies today in the market, from electrified solutions to autonomous driving and vehicle connectivity, until the use of hydrogen with its great potential in diversified areas. Investment announcements on hydrogen projects grew substantially in the last years, and we expect a further acceleration in the years to come, even based on the strong signals coming from the governments around the world. So hydrogen is now on the top of the European Commission agenda. Indeed, the European Commission has doubled the hydrogen targets for 2030 to 10 million tons of renewable hydrogen to be produced annually. So this is clearly the hydrogen momentum, and we should not miss the opportunity and the chance to make it a central part of our future energy strategy. But why is hydrogen so important and promising? Well, hydrogen is the most abundant element naturally present in the universe. So it's everywhere. Then it is colorless, odorless, non-toxic, and highly combustible. And most important, it has the potential for generating zero greenhouse gas emissions. If we talk about the hydrogen demand, well, we expect that it will triplicate in 2050, and that it will increasingly cover new sectors. Today, most of the hydrogen demand comes from the EV industry, like iron and steel. But in the next year, we expect that it will increase significantly in the transportation sector, as well as in the production of synthetic fuels. So as we said, hydrogen has different and diversified applications. When we talk about power generation and energy transition, we can say that hydrogen has a great potential, since it is one of the leading options able to store renewable energy. Well, as we learned in the last years, the decarbonization of our planet must go through the transition towards renewable energy, which is, yes, largely distributed around the globe. However, the locations where we can harvest this energy in a more efficient way differ from the areas, the centers with the highest demand. So it means that then the energy must be transported and distributed. And still, renewable hydrogen is intermittent. It means that it's not available at any time. Well, hydrogen allows for vast quantities of clean energy to be stored for long durations in order to be used in peak demand and to balance the seasonal energy. And when we move to the transport sector and the mobile applications of hydrogen, we see a lot of new technologies that we think need to be all investigated and tested. First, hydrogen can be used as fuel in existing internal combustion engines, of course applying minor changes. But it would give a new life to this already mature technology. Or hydrogen can be used in a fuel cell, which is able to convert chemical energy into electrical energy. Well, the fuel cell technology is still under development, but we see it as a promising solution for both the mobility and stationary applications. And still, hydrogen can be used to produce synthetic fuels, which are alternative fuels generated through the synthesis of hydrogen and the CO2 directly captured from the environment. Well, the advantages of using hydrogen in the transport sector stay mainly in the possibility to travel longer distances with less refueling. And for this reason, we see hydrogen as an ideal solution for the heavy-duty trucks, buses, but also ships and airplanes. So we think it will help these sectors to accelerate the decarbonization process. Well, there are for sure many challenges, still many challenges to face to make hydrogen largely distributed. And one of these is the price. But even in this case, the European Union commitment is clear, since the target is to bring its cost below 1.8 euros per kilo in 2030. So, of course, the more we invest in hydrogen, the quicker we will get there, and we will reach this important ambition. At AVL, we are working and testing all the main innovative solutions around hydrogen. And that's mainly because we believe that hydrogen will play a crucial role in the pathway towards a greener and safer planet. And more, it will help, it will sustain the decarbonization of some EV industries. So hydrogen is not only the unique energy carrier able to generate zero emissions, but it is only an ideal solution to decarbonize the so-called hard-to-abate industries like chemical, iron, and steel, and also the transport sector, especially the heavy-duty transport, as well as the marine and aviation sectors. Well, to conclude, in such a challenging environment, we strongly believe that the cooperation between corporates and startups is really the key to reach together the vision of a clean and affordable mobility. Well, I leave now the stage to the first panel of this second Creators Launch. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Georgia, for these great insights. They're very helpful to understand the importance of the topic. I didn't know myself that hydrogen is at the top of the EU agenda. And obviously, this brings me to this perfect panel to talk about the ecosystem around the hydrogen and open innovation towards this ecosystem. Welcome to our studio here physically. With us is Elisabeth Stigler from the Technische Universität Graz and also board member of Gründungsgarage, an academic startup accelerator. Elisabeth, welcome.
Thank you.
Then Victoria Ilga is with me, team lead at Creators Expedition at AVL. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, nice to be here.
And remotely with us, Elisabeth Arnold. She is the team lead of New Business Incubator at voestalpine Steel Division. Hello, Elisabeth.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us for this really exciting panel. We want to talk about what is this ecosystem around hydrogen. I didn't know that already on the European level we have such a relevance. I did notice that you guys in the corporate systems already are really active in this topic, Victoria. Maybe just to emphasize this again, AVL is already experimenting around the hydrogen.
I would say it's even more than experimenting. So it's really one of the things we believe in and we are already working in. And we also love to work with other corporates and startups, of course, and universities in that direction. And that is also why we have now in that interesting panel Elizabeth and Elizabeth,
yeah.
As we are focusing on working together in that area very strongly.
Perfect. Otherwise, we won't be able to move such a big topic as hydrogen. How to collaborate, how the collaboration works in ecosystems, what kind of forms do we have, what kind of learnings do you guys bring to this topic? These are all the topics that we want to discuss. We have one very concrete project that we want to discuss, but not only that, also other forms of collaboration between many corporates, the Growth Garden. And we're going to be talking about it in a second. But first, Elisabeth, what is your connection maybe as a Technische Universität Graz to hydrogen?
Well, there is, of course, research on this topic in hydrogen, and I'm at the Institute of General Management and Organization. There we support students and researchers with business ideas in a very early stage. So our perspective is rather the management perspective on this whole topic, and also exploring ecosystems of collaborations.
Fantastic. Elisabeth, what about voestalpine? How far are you already in this topic?
Yeah, you have heard in the introduction that hydrogen plays a vital role when it comes to decarbonization. And you know, in Linz, we have a plant already where we produce hydrogen, but not only this is important for us to produce this hydrogen, which we use in our process. We also are looking for new materials where we could deliver this hydrogen, because it's, yeah, as we all know, it's a very interesting element. And so we need some special materials, and we are also working on that from voestalpine side. But yeah, as you said before, we didn't work on materials in our hackathon together with Gründungsgarage, and we did something else, but but I think we're going to talk about this in a second.
Yeah, we're coming to this topic, so we want to work on two topics on this panel. First of all, one best case that you have, Growth Garden, the one project that you all guys did together, and then obviously all others examples of collaboration in the field of hydrogen or beyond when it comes to open innovation between different players. And I'd also like to invite our audience again. I have a tablet here, so I'll be checking your maybe questions or comments that you put with us on Slido in the Q&A area that you have on your tool. So please feel free to ask us questions so that we can also interact on that. Let's talk about Growth Garden. What was it about? Who wants to pitch the concept?
Yeah, I would like to, because the Growth Garden is our new format and program at the Gründungsgarage. There, it is our attention to also support students who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs or having a positive impact on the world, on society, and in their industries they're studying. So what we thought is, how could we come up with a concept helping them identifying new business ideas that would really have an impact afterwards and they could be successful with. So we came up with the Growth Garden, where we, around the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals that were defined, and where all the countries in Europe committed towards reaching them, we came up with that idea that with a focus on these SDGs, they can work on problems and identify specific topics where they would really like to focus on. And then, yeah, we got in touch with AVL. And actually, it was your idea to focus on hydrogen and building ideas around and solutions around the hydrogen.
So you guys used format, AVL, with voestalpine together to explore different ideas in the field of hydrogen in this boot camp, actually, that you have.
Actually, yeah, it is a boot camp, 2.5 days, where we have 2 facilitators with a strong design thinking background, where there is the problem around that hydrogen, in that case, deeply explored within a whole day. And then the next day is rather focusing on finding solutions, what could be ways to tackle these problems and to finding solutions. And then on third day, a minimum viable product is already built. In that case, it's a website and a short video clip to explain what's the problem, why is it relevant, and how could we solve this. And I'm really happy that Elisabeth is here today, because she actually took part as a participant.
Elisabeth, how was it for you? Yeah, you were there for all 2.5 days?
Yes, exactly. I joined this fantastic format, and it was really a pleasure to be there. And I just wanted to add that AVL, they came up to us within our network, and they asked us if we would like to join this Growth Garden. And as we sit together, we discussed several topics, and then we said, come on, let's discuss a topic we really all need to focus on, and we need to collaborate. And that's when we discussed hydrogen. So I joined this hackathon, 2.5 days. Time passed so quickly, and it was so much fun. And in the end, we generated so many ideas. and it was really cool to be there. I really enjoyed it a lot.
And this is the power of a collaboration, obviously, because it's kind of positively surprising to me that in a complex topic like hydrogen, still in such a short period of time, you have so much input. How was it for you?
Yes, I think we had actually two drivers why we started that, why we went to TU and to Gründungsgarage and also to the new business incubator. We see two challenges at the moment. There are not enough startups in the field of hydrogen. So we see in our scouting processes that there could be more. There is a need for it at the moment. So what we think is important as a corporate is to talk about challenges, to let people know that there is a relevant challenge in the industry and that there are different ways of solving it, and we need to put our heads together to solve it. That was the first thing, so that we also wanted to motivate students to participate in that and think about this new form of energy or this solution. And the second thing was that we more and more open up to other corporates as well as a AVL Startup Initiative. So not just working with startups, also working with other corporates, because we see we have so many big challenges out there, and we need all the help from different parties. And for example, when we are talking about voestalpine, they are in a totally different field, but still we have talking points. We have some relevant challenges we both had, so why not work on that together?
Mm-hmm. Why do you think this format was successful? How did you set it up actually? Because collaboration is probably the best form of innovating, but it's tricky, so
yes.
You have to set it up correctly. So what were maybe some learning success factors?
I think collaboration, as you said, is very important, but also very tricky. So it's one of the hardest things because you need to bring together different parties with different aims. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always important to decide for a common vision, a big thing behind what you want to do. And then in this special format, what is the cool thing for me is it follows a design thinking process. So in the beginning, we really think about the problem very holistic. So we try to be empathic, deeply think about the problem, what it really is, what problem does the end customer have with it, for example, what are the stakeholders, which is especially important when it comes to hydrogen, because there are so many stakeholders in that. There is the production, there is the delivery, there is the storage, so you have a lot you need to think of and a lot of parties to bring together. And so this format, I think, was a very good example of how you can bring together people with one vision and a very strict process as well.
Maybe, yeah, go Elizabeth.
Sorry, and all the participants there were very open-minded, and you have to know that all the people, we didn't meet each other before, so the very first time you got to see each other was online, because it was an online format, and it still worked really well. Okay, so and there was such a cool spirit that came up during that time.
So it was a fully digital boot camp for 2.5 days.
It's an online-only boot camp, yeah. And I think what is very important there is that you have a process and that you have facilitators you can trust, and that the whole concept is designed before. We started with the first thoughts about Growth Garden and the concept before COVID started. And then, yeah, COVID was there, so we had to switch to the online version. We got such a great feedback also on how it was designed and how quickly these 2.5 days passed by, and how productive and solution-oriented everyone was there taking part. So the feedback showed us we should stick to the online concept, and personally I have never experienced another online format that was so inspiring and keeping you concentrated like all the time. And regarding the success factors, Victoria already mentioned important points, and what was in my opinion very valuable was that diverse background of the participants. That there were employees or members of two different companies there, and also that we had this students' perspective coming in, and the ones from the facilitators, from bringing in that design thinking processes and methods and tools, where the whole thing was designed with. And also, of course, we brought in from the Gründungsgarage side this entrepreneurship perspective, that we really want to put that afterwards into practice, or that there is something that could become the new reality. And thank you for mentioning this, Elisabeth, staying open-minded, because staying open was very important for us as Gründungsgarage, because the first growth gardens we had without corporate partners, and now we have seen that it is even such a success together, and that this collaboration contributes so much. And at the same time, it was important to stay open-minded and to stick to those SDGs, and to evaluate and find SDGs that fit to the challenges of hydrogen, or where could hydrogen support. So in the beginning, 3 SDGs were identified where it could have a focus on.
Elisabeth wanted to add something?
I just wanted to say something to the online format. Nevertheless, I'm really looking forward to our next step, like meeting really in person in December. As I'm really looking forward to meet everyone in person. I was working together with for 2.5 days and being just in an online WebEx.
So you guys are meeting now in December?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, and I think
it is really fantastic.
It is, and what is cool is sometimes everybody knows that when you have meetings, you come together, you talk about a topic or a certain challenge, but everybody knows that sometimes there is no outcome.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. I mean, let's be honest. But within that process, also the put 2 corporates in that process, and there is an outcome after those 2.5 days. I mean, it's not the solution, of course, but it is a talking point where we can now further work on, and this is what we are going to do in December.
Fantastic.
And I think that's something we also want to take into account with other partners in the future.
One question in between for both of you, Victoria and Elisabeth. Can you please give an example of a common challenge of AVL and voestalpine?
Yeah, I think one of the common challenges we have is this H2 consumer, like the topic was for the hackathon we had. So this is one common challenge we decided to work on together. Nevertheless, I'm pretty sure there are more challenges coming up. And within doing things together, like a hackathon, you get to know each other more and more. And it's very easy now to pick up my phone and just call AVL, can you help me with this and this problem? So it's also bringing people together and then getting up on speed if you have probably the next challenge to connect people. And yeah, I think.
Yes, so we are working on that challenge, for example, but also the storage of hydrogen is an important topic for us, where we are always looking for startups, for example. The green production of green hydrogen, of course, is an important topic which comes up and gets more important, of course, in the situation we are right now. Yeah, and we hope to see more solutions out there, because I'm deeply convinced that we need to collaborate on that topic to make a further step.
If you think of the success factors from this format, what do you think are the learnings for maybe also other formats? What was really also between 2 industry leaders like AVL and voestalpine? How did you manage to have, let's say, a level playing field, to have a good and positive collaboration? How did you set it up, and which learnings would you use also maybe in other formats?
I think in general, maybe I start and you contribute. In general, it is has a lot to do with getting to know each other in the beginning, understanding if we have the same challenges or not. So talking is a very important step in the beginning, and also kind of a security. So it's always, sometimes it's easier to work with someone who is not in the same let's say, sector as you are.
Direct competitor.
Yes, it's better if it's not a direct competitor sometimes, or it is easier. I think that's a fact because you can talk very openly with each other. And I also think that the way in starting to talk from innovation department to innovation department is a good way to start a collaboration. Of course, we need to bring in from the beginning, we need the other departments and so on, because those are the ones who really then can work on it. But I think sometimes it's easier with innovation departments because it's a very open connection and also very open, we can talk openly.
Did you have your business units involved in
And
this
the
process?
Yes.
And
we had the innovation teams in. Sorry, I think I'm a little late with my internet connection. So we had the participants involved from other innovation departments, but I think one of the main reasons why this was such a success was also that we didn't always discuss the technical limits. So all the solutions we discussed, everybody was very open to whatever topic came up, and we never talked about technical problems and issues. And when you start with a very open mind, I think you collect a lot of ideas, and then when you further develop, then in the next process steps, you will identify the issues, but probably you can solve them on the way. But when you start thinking with problems, with technical problems, you will never be so creative on the way.
Very important input. Is that a part of the method, Elizabeth, to allow at the beginning every idea?
Sure. That is very important. As I mentioned earlier, this staying open-minded and also value this contribution from the people that bring in different perspectives and different backgrounds, whether from the corporate experience working there as an employee or as a leader, and on the other hand, bringing in students or entrepreneurs and startups. That is really important from my perspective, or in my opinion, for this co-creation process. And what I really was impressed by also was that there in the end, at the end of these two and a half days, we had a jury where the top management was present.
Of both companies?
Of both companies, and provided feedback to the three solutions that were developed.
Right.
And also one of the solutions is actually a co-creation solution, but with the inhabitants or with future end customers. How to inform them better about hydrogen and how to find ways to design consumer products that they would like to interact with or that they would value whenever they know about it.
Would you say that one of the success factors was also that, as far as I understood this correctly, this was more of an ecosystem hackathon and not a solely corporate hackathon for their own ideas?
Exactly. So we really wanted to, we think hydrogen is an ecosystem topic, like I said before, so why not solve the challenges with an ecosystem approach? And maybe one thing, because you mentioned the management being on board as well, I think this is very important for now, because we have worked now for 2.5 days. But of course, we need the management attention, and we also need the support by the management to go the further steps. So I think this is maybe something we should mention also for the future. This is very important to also have the support by the management.
Maybe just, Elizabeth, for you, one very concrete question from our audience. What is the application process for the Growth Garden? Who can participate, and when is the next round?
Well, the next date is not fixed yet, but it will be in spring 2023. And, well, the application, you just apply. You go to our website, growthgarden.at, or to gründungsgarage.at, and find Growth Garden as one of our programs. Or if you're a company and would like to design the whole process with us, or to bring in a certain topic, as Föstalpine and AVL did with hydrogen, we're open. Just get in touch. We're really looking forward. And for all the others, whether you are students, employees, it doesn't matter in which field you're doing your studies or you're working in, just apply, you're welcome. And that is the point, actually, that you contribute something with your diverse background altogether.
Mm.
How do you,
I can highly recommend to use this format.
Yeah, me too. After listening to you guys,
want to participate now,
yes,
right?
I might really. Elizabeth, and also Victoria, or all of you, since we've been talking about ecosystem and hydrogen ecosystem so much, how do you define the ecosystem? How did you define it for yourself? Who are the stakeholders of this ecosystem? How do you identify them so that you don't miss out on anybody? How did you do that for voestalpine, for example?
For us, for the new business incubator, it's of course very important to have lots of partners, universities on board where we can collaborate with and where we get new ideas from. A new idea is randomly just generated by one single person. So you need an ecosystem where you can discuss several ideas and also probably where you can develop something together. So we are working really strongly together with other companies, with universities, and also from time to time with startups. Well, it's not our focus right now, but we also have some startups bringing in their ideas. So this is our ecosystem right now, and I think it's really crucial for the future to work together with others because you can't do everything by yourself.
Yes, it's similar. We always try to take a look at our own industry, of course, who is there, but also now we try to take a look at other industries. This is a topic like voestalpine. It's important for voestalpine, for example. So we try to do a little bit of an industry check to understand who has problems or what are the challenges we all have. Afterwards, of course, our department takes a quick look or a deep look into startups. We do worldwide startup screening where we then have a look on that. Then, of course, we work with the universities. But I honestly have to say, as an ecosystem, you always have to build it. So, I mean, there is no end in building an ecosystem. We started, and by learning and by talking with other people, we learn, okay, we would need somebody for this, or we would need somebody for that. And as I said in the beginning, there is the production, there is the distribution, and of course there is this big topic in hydrogen with storage. So I think we would highly appreciate, of course, if we can work more together on that topic.
What about some other formats that you tried out and the learnings maybe from them when collaborating, be it with other corporates, startups, universities? Do you have any experience of that or learnings that you could share?
For me, it's always the same, no matter which kind of process you use. If it's working in a growth garden, if it's incubating startups, if it's working together with startups, the most important thing for me is to create win-win situations, to have a common vision, and to be empathic. So really to also think, what does the partner need? What do we need? Why is the partner acting and reacting like he or she does? Because you need very much understanding, because it's never easy to collaborate.
Yeah, I can fully agree on that. We are trying several formats right now because as I said before, the new business incubator was founded 2 years ago, or started up 2 years ago. So we are just trying out several different things. And this was actually my first hackathon, and I can, as I said before, I really can recommend this.
And you can probably apply to the next one, if I may thank for the idea here from our audience from Bernhard von Gründungsgarage. We should do a growth garden with broadcast to explore media innovation. So you're all invited to our
perfect.
Spontaneously at the AVL event.
Looking forward to this. Well, I would also like to add something on that collaboration with startups topics, because this is what I investigate in my research at TU Graz and University of Graz, and it is really interesting to types of companies, startups and established companies like the Davids and Goliaths, why do they work together and how do they work together? And one of the challenges that I heard is it's not about setting up one cooperation on a single project. The challenge is rather how do you transfer this into your daily business, or how do you manage that kind of transition to use the ideas afterwards and to have that collaboration or cooperation continuing. And for me, it's also very interesting here to investigate and to see what is the approach towards business models. Yeah. And in my experience, or what I learned so far in the research is that it's the companies are more successful, let's say, as a first impression, who are open to this contribution that the startup brings in and to this new perspective, and the companies that are open towards creating new business models together. And yeah, there are successful examples out there, and also at AVL, so I would like to encourage this collaboration within an ecosystem across the boundaries, because these boundaries are only what we thought before that they exist. But actually, this is a super example with AVL and with the new business incubator, how companies can really find good ways to cooperate and to have their get their value out of it.
And how did you define value? Because at the end of the day, at some point, it has to be the end game, probably, to have new products that serve your customers better, to drive new revenue streams, and to have sustainable development on your product portfolio.
Totally right. I mean, in the end, of course, that sometimes take a little bit of a time, but in the end, this has to be the goal. It has to be a valuable solution, let's call it like that, no matter if it's a product or a service.
Elisabeth, at New Business Incubator?
And yeah, coming back to this hackathon we had together, I think the next step now for us is to look together at the ideas that were created and then look for ideas we can collaborate and find those values for the customers, and so we can continue collaborating on this topic. But that's of course now the hard part, finding out the values, and yeah, that's the next step.
How did you convince the business units to get involved? What's the trick there? Because that also has caused in the past a lot of frustration at some point. You have highly motivated teams in the field of innovation, and then it can happen that you have complete kind of resistance in the business line. So how do you manage that connection?
It's called ambidexterity. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons also why the MBI was founded 2 years ago. So we have the people focusing on more daily business, and then it's us looking and trying to find new business. And yeah, I think that's also one of the tasks we have, is to do things like this to find new business models. And they won't come up when I sit in front of my desk and do some desktop researches. You have to collaborate, you have to go out, you have to talk to people, to connect, and to see where you can find those new business models.
Victoria?
Yes, I think on a working level, it's also important to understand the business units. It's on top on their daily work. We have to see that, also as innovation managers, of course. They sometimes have a lot to do. But I think also here understanding, showing the opportunity, designing the process together. It's not something the innovation unit should do. We always, so in a very early stage, the department needs to be included because they are also the experts. We are facilitators, or we see ourselves as facilitators, and we bring them in a very early stage. And I think that's crucial. And also defining KPIs, and also within the company, it has to be clear that this is valuable work. And this is something which as well has to come from the management, has to come from the whole organization. Otherwise, it's not possible in my eyes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for these insights. Really interesting, a lot of know-how that you've built up, and obviously I'm really grateful, Victoria, for you that you're doing this event, the Creators Lounge, so that we can share these experiences with other ecosystem players, building up the ecosystem, learning from each other, and improving together. Thank you for your time and for all your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. So while we get the second panel ready, we have another Slido questionnaire for you. What we'd like to know now is, did you also join our last Creators Expedition launch in April? So let's give us yes or no so that we know about that as well. Please, let's start. Also join us in our last Creators Expedition launch in April. 75%, 67% yes, 63% yes, 55% no. Is jumping around very, very strongly. Now no is in lead. 56% at no, 44% at yes. It's very important that we review this because there's new audiences coming to this event. 55% no, 57% no, or let's put it that way, 43% yes. So we're very happy to have you with us again. It's both important that we have some continuity together. We're bringing all the time new topics on the stage, and at the same time, very welcome to all the audience that has not been with us in April. 64%, you're new to this event, so welcome as well, and welcome to all of you who are already with us at our first event. If I see correctly, we should be ready for our second panel, and I'd like to welcome all the speakers here in studio with us. It's great to have you here. We're going to be talking about emissions and resource tracking. And with us is Tributech, Thomas Plank, responsible for business development and channel sales. Hello. Then Anna Pölzl, CEO and co-founder of NISTA. Anna, hello. Hello.
Hi.
Sebastian Jagd, Global Head of Creators Expedition at AVL. Hello.
Hi.
And last but not least, we have Alexander Losbichler, Digital Advisor and Vertical Industry Lead, Energy, Mobility and Sustainability at Microsoft. Welcome.
Hi.
Important topic that we have here. 64% new audience. Happy?
Totally happy, because we do that to attract and increase our reach within the ecosystem, so that's great.
And we obviously need new people, because collaboration is all about expanding the ecosystem and helping each other to profit. 1 + 1 is 10 in this case, in the ecosystem, if done correctly. So that's why I'm also very curious and invite you as well to ask us questions. I will, again, like in the previous panel, try to take as many of your questions as I can and pass them over to this panel. And so we're going to be talking about emission and resource tracking. And Sebastian, AVL works with all the parties on stage here in different settings. I think joint project with Tributech and evaluating project with NISTA. And Microsoft is also involved everywhere. So how does this work? Explain us the setting here.
So to us, as a company that fosters improvement or development in the automotive mobility space, one of our key statements that we do have in our vision statement is we owe it to the planet, which really means that we want to change the behavior as well as what we do when we consume mobility. And one, as we all know, one of that is emissions and at the end CO2 or energy consumption. So it's our daily business to improve that. And as always, and this is like we are talking regularly, Dan, is in partnerships we do that best. And as you said, there is different kinds of partnership that AVL fosters, and there is the startup partnerships. Unfortunately, we have kind of a party corporate side and startup side here in that panel, but that was not intentionally. So therefore, when I'm talking about you guys, I don't just mean you because you're sitting over there. Meaning, the startup collaborations help us to come in with new opportunities that we have not seen before, or where 1 + 1 = more than just being a 2, but give us the opportunity to do even more. And I let Thomas and Anna later on describe a little bit more what they do with us. On the side of a corporate cooperation like with Microsoft, it's for us that we believe in partnerships or doing things together, you get more reach than if you do it alone. And inventing new technologies, new solutions is then as fast as we need it to do if we can rely on partners who have already eventually done a step that we would need to develop on our own. So therefore, collaboration in our eyes is one important factor for future success.
Nevertheless, we're coming maybe from an era where it was believed that if you have the solution only for yourself, you have competitive advantage. If you share this solution with other players, you don't have the sole competitive advantage anymore, or is that something that's not correct anymore?
You know, that's a trick and not so easy to answer question. Of course, at the end, we are companies and want to do business. Still, competitive advantage is also something where you are good in acting in ecosystems. So the part of being excellent in collaboration is also a skill of the future, as we believe.
Very good answer. I agree fully. What do you guys do with them? What is the project? What is the use case? And how is it working? And you are allowed to be critical. This is very important. This is not a PR event for AVL. They really want to build ecosystem and to learn from each other. So feel free also to explain what kind of challenges did you face in project, if you did.
Sure. So we at Cribotech offer trustworthy data as a service. So offering a technology stack, enabling companies to transport data from A to B and build data services on top of it, and this with a new level of data security. So we designed our product in a way that we actually want to move forward with larger corporates, building data services on top of our technology, and we taking the burden of the data integration stuff off them. So that they can focus on their expertise, which is domain knowledge, and how to push such a data service in the market, because they have the credibility, the market access, and we want to focus on the kind of like technology enablement part. And yeah, working with larger corporates comes with certain challenges, which we also faced in the beginning with AVL, because larger companies always have some certain processes when it comes to procurement and discussions and all of that. So what we really liked about the cooperation was that they have a specific unit in place, which has also the relevant standing within the company, because this is a thing we experienced in the past with others, when the accelerator or startup unit hasn't the standing compared to the other business units. It's just discussing basic ideas and not moving forward. So this was a really good thing about the collaboration with AVL, because we feel valued as a partner and not as just a startup providing ideas and presentations and slides.
I think you made two very important points. First of all, feeling valued, fine. But then even if you feel valued, but if your partner has no power within the structure, it also doesn't help you anything. So how did you succeed to position this innovation unit within AVL as strong as for startup to say, wow, they have kind of internal strength to really do projects with us?
Again, a manifold answer. So one important thing is, of course, being successful and having showcases with successful integrations or partnerships. I think if you can prove that collaboration works out, and I mean on an actual partnership between a startup and ourselves, other business units will see that as a role model and will follow. That's one thing. But of course, it is also something where you need to be having the right backing of management internally. So meaning it is not enough if it's just a marketing stand and things are just done because you need to do it. There needs to be the belief in that what you're doing is right, and the backing of your top and middle management is key. And last but not least, it's still hard work.
Anna, you're in the phase of evaluating whether you can work together on a project.
Exactly.
How is this phase?
Exciting. So maybe I start from the beginning. What we do at NISTIO is basically we collect sensor data that people have, and our output
are regular energy efficiency actions that people can do in order to become more energy efficient. Of course, this is something where AVL also has a lot of sensor data in-house, but also their customers. Collecting this data and making it available for experts to deliver regular insights on how to perform more efficient is kind of the goal or the use case where we're starting. So of course, this is a very large use case. Collecting data and making it available is both a technical but also a kind of human resource challenge, you know, helping people understand data easily and work with it in their daily lives in order to improve. And I think the challenge with AVL that we currently have is where to start, you know, because what's great is that there is a common interest from both sides, of course. But yes, how to start with a project that is small enough that it is tangible and that you can drive and deliver an outcome, but also big enough that you can see the vision that stands behind it and to just not fall into this phase here. We had a project, it was successful. NISTA now was helpful for one use case in energy efficiency. No, this is just where we started, and to not lose traction of the long-term goal. And this is kind of the challenge that we have. And yeah, I think one very important thing that Victoria said beforehand was, you know, the motivation is there, the motivation from the head of the organization, from the innovation team, from the business units, but it's always work on top of for the business units. And this is something where I would say, why is that? Why isn't the innovation also calculated in your routine tasks within your normal work hours? So, but yes, this is the challenge for us at the moment.
It's fantastic, Alexander. Microsoft does a lot of collaborations. You have your own startup programs. You collaborate with other corporates. I think that was a very important input that we just heard. What do you see in other partnerships? What kind of learnings do you have that you can put on the panel?
So I would say I can fully echo what was just mentioned before. I think the key challenge, what Microsoft has also learned over the last years, if you look at our own transformation journey, I think when you talked about closed and like keeping everything in-house, that was something that 20 years ago or 25 years ago was what Microsoft was all about. But we also learned rather quickly that innovation can only work if you team up with partners. And Microsoft as a company, we are not a tech leader in every single industry, but we are actually a platform that should enable the industry leaders to build something on top. And that's why we are super excited to be working together with leaders in automotive and mobility like AVL, but also teaming up with startups that actually have the expertise to develop leading edge solutions that hopefully run on our platform at the end of the day.
One issue that Anna mentioned, I think it's very, very important. Yeah, how do you make sure that the project is kind of, and it's the discussion point for everybody, that the project is big enough to be attractive, to put resources from the startup perspective, but small enough so that you can make the first step? Because even from my own business, which is not as complex as yours, if we offer a package to our clients which is too big, you don't move on. So how do you structure that? Do you structure it in milestones? How do you do that actually?
So there is you know, it's something you learn in terms of just by doing it, because we are sometimes, and maybe I give the reference also in the little bit into the collaboration with ourselves and Microsoft, as where we are the smaller partner. It's first of all, as you just said, you would need to break down the first step into a step that you can take. This is exactly what we call our Creators Expedition projects, which are overseeable. So it's not, we want to start in a partnership with a startup without any knowledge about how huge it will be. As Anna just said, it's not always easy to find that first step, but you need to find it. And then you need to structure it in a way so that you can actually do it. Just as a reference, in a partnership with very big and big, we also started to work on our partnership in streams. We just defined 5 streams where we will find common ground and continue on that. And this is very similar how we want to work with startups. So finding a first interaction point, it takes some time, hopefully not too long, so that the startup is still attracted to work with us. But it's a work that you would need to do, because after that, when you have proof that it works, you have proof to go on to the next use case and continue and expand from there.
What do you expect for your business from collaborations, be it with AVL, Microsoft, or other corporates? What's in it for you?
Well, I think for us it's super important to, to always work with customers to really find real customer needs and not to develop a solution in the back chamber and then go out to market and nobody's interested. So I think experience and learning and building with customers together or with partners together, that's one big thing. And what's always important is, of course, credibility. And working with AVL as a big partner, or with Microsoft or whoever out there, as a small startup, you start from being nobody to start being somebody. And how do you become somebody that people trust? Showing that you worked with partners like AVL or bigger corporates together.
How do you solve the trust issue or question between you guys, between startups, and because there's also a question of trust, right?
Yes.
Chicken egg, yes.
Yes.
Any best practice? Any idea? How did you do it in your case?
I think the best thing, and it always comes down to that, is the personal relationship and the discussion. Do you feel comfortable in also sharing new ideas and how you think it should go forward, how you get the feedback? So basically gut feeling that there's no hidden agenda.
When you make the first step, do you structure the collaboration in a way that you say, if we reach phase 1, there's automatic prolongation into phase 2, or do you renegotiate and talk again about the next stage?
So, as normally at the very beginning, we don't see step 2 already at the start. So, the answer to your question is we don't have an actual plan at the beginning how the long-term partnership at the end should look like. So we don't want to wait to start the collaboration until we have that plan. But still, and I agree, because you use the word renegotiate, which would be a buzzword where a startup would have kind of an adverse opinion to that. So what I would say is we don't renegotiate our collaboration at that point, but we would need to replan and continue on an iterative planning how the partnership evolves.
And it would be actually against everything that we believe in innovation if we would plan the partnership for the next 5 years, because innovation is about discovering new things on the way. Is that how you set it up as well?
Fully agree. I think the only important thing is agree on milestones along the way that actually show what you have achieved up to that point to create credibility, but also then unlock additional money on both sides to invest into the partnership.
Money is actually a good point that you're making. Are these paid collaborations, or do you just put kind of mutual resources as kind of virtual joint venture project?
No, they're paid collaboration, which is also for startups a very important thing, because it gives you some certain credibility and underlines that it's relevant for the corporate if you also put money on the table.
Yeah, exactly. So it should always be paid, because this is also something that you need to prove, not because the revenue of this one trial is the biggest revenue or whatever. This should not be the goal. But if you give something away for free, it's worth nothing. I don't know how to translate this to English, but if it's nichts kostet, it's nichts wert, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, to also, as you said, Thomas, the company really proves that this is worth something for them.
Is that, meanwhile, the standard while collaborating with startups, that these partnerships are paid at least to some extent?
So I would say, based on the stuff that we see, in many cases it is, because basically, as it was mentioned before, it's just about showing respect and not just exploiting the startups to get some free work or solutions deployed.
May I add a little bit, because I have a little bit of I don't contradict with all what's said. Just want to mention is, of course, if we consume a service from a startup, however it looks, it needs to be paid, no matter what. But I would avoid to say that it is kind of all programs that we do is kind of a sponsoring of startups, because at the end, what we believe in is, especially if we go out there and do joint development of offerings to mutual customers, so meaning at the end, developing new products for third parties, we believe that, yes, money shouldn't be the hurdle of anything that comes up, but still it should be something where also the startup doesn't do it just because they get paid for it, but they also invest into that partnership, because that partnership is something that is not over with that POC or that proof of concept project, sorry for the abbreviation. So to me, it is very important of, yes, money shouldn't be the hurdle, but it's not just that the corporates are paying for anything when it's about a joint endeavor later on.
So both sides have a skin in the game, kind of. Is that also fine for you guys?
I'd say so, yes. Yep, because for us the most important thing is to find somebody that consumes a service. It's not like, please AVL work with us, is we have something that you need. And you have something that we need, and it's really cooperation and not.
So that would be the question. What's kind of the end game or the vision of such collaboration? Is it new product for your customers, what's the outcome?
So in the very specific part, we have both examples on here in the panel. So Nista would be consuming on our end, so something where we use the technology of you guys. And with Trivotech, it's building a project or a product and offering together for our customers. And together in that sense means even in the three-party collaboration with Microsoft. So this is very open and something where it's up to what we actually find as the joint value.
And do you define any revenue goals in the joint value, if that's a art of collaboration?
Yeah, so on the way. Again, that's not a KPI from you just can do and become a partner of ourselves if there is some goal achieved. So on the way, of course, we need to agree on mutual KPIs that we want to fulfill. But it's not a prerequisite that there is any external revenue or whatever that we would need to achieve so that a partnership is attractive to us.
Oh, fantastic. How honest are you in the phase of setting up the collaboration? Is it full honesty, full authenticity, or do you fake it till you make it somehow? What's your experience?
I think you need somebody in at the corporate where you have kind of a trustful relationship, who can also guide you with the internal politics and processes and how to position everything, because that's something you don't know as a startup. But yeah, it's very helpful to have at least one trustful relationship with someone.
But also on your side, do you say, for example, if they would say, can you do this? And if you know, well, not really, but we could try, do you say that? Do you say, no, we can't actually, but if you want, we can try it under this and these circumstances? Or do you try to fake it just to get into it?
I think it's really important to say no to things that you can't deliver, because otherwise you would also, we have a strategy that we need to follow. Otherwise we would be consultants that just can develop, or developers that develop something for you. So I think it's super important to stick also to your strategy, get input, improve, learn, but saying yes to everything would be a weird strategy, a wobbly strategy, I guess.
Very important statement. We have two questions from our audience. Talking about CO2 tracking and energy efficiency, what is the goal of the collaborations? Maybe Anna, this is for you. Yeah.
So what we do, as I said, with Nista, we collect sensor data from facilities and first of all, make very transparent how much energy a facility is using at every certain time on machines if they have more sensor data, and just buildings if they have less data, depending. So transparency. And the second part is not only create the feeling for this, but also find measures where you could be more energy efficient, find areas, and then advise on an AVO basis, on a regular basis, how to improve that. And then the third thing, which is important for this, I guess, is if you track data, if you track energy consumption, and then you give a measure with a guess how much you can improve, and then you keep tracking, you can measure everything you do better based on data. And I don't think that it gets more hands down and transparent than that, tracking improvement with the data you constantly measure anyways.
Is that the use case that you can multiply with other corporates? Is that the typical use case in your partnerships in general?
Exactly. So first of all, collecting data is a challenge, and if we fix that, that gets easier on the way. And the second thing is we work with a network of partners that deliver use cases, because we're not the best in every facility and in every use case. So detecting peak loads in whatever, in a concrete factory facility. But we work with the partners, and making their wisdom and their insights available for many facilities at scale is something where you can actually accelerate saving energy and saving CO2, because you make this wisdom available. And this is something where we see great potential, because there's so many people with so many ideas, and just delivering an export for them to, act is something where I also see, I think this is also why we got together, because we both see this vision.
How that's what I forgot to ask. How did you get together? How does this collaboration come to place? You have a permanent scouting for these ideas, but how do you find your startups actually? Because you have so many exciting deep techs that you work with.
In general, there is a few ways how to get in touch with us. So either apply through our homepage or social media channels, or let's meet on events of any kind. And there is a huge source of input or through our own employees. So we have a lot of employees who are curious and out there in their worldwide ecosystems, and those are a huge source of startup relations at the very early beginning. We try to then kind of funnel them into the right directions, because not always the guy that you meet as a startup from AVL is the right one to work with. So then we are the second step to get into that directions. On the other hand, as you said, we are also actively searching from desktop research to also through partnerships and other partners who help us to find startups. So having a good view on what's going out in the startup ecosystem is key to then select the right ones. And gladly, and this is a great example also with you two guys here, also locally. You don't need to go worldwide if you have great solutions in Austria.
Yeah.
And these solutions in very many ways are something which we want to foster, because the Austrian or ecosystems in general, but also the Austrian ecosystem becomes better and more fruitful if there is more that you support. So kind of it's a system that you need to get rolling, and then the continuation product or product, meaning startups as a product, sorry for that, but continues to grow. And I think this is what the ecosystem in Austria has really done well in the recent years.
In all parts of the country, or where do you focus on especially?
So it is in all parts of the country, but again, the region is not a focus at all, but being in the same time zone and in drivable distance still is something important, because as Thomas said, personal interaction is still one of the main goals or success factors of a partnership.
Is it a success factor? Or let me rephrase it. What do you, all of you, do you look for? Do you look for, or do you communicate the problem that you have, or do you communicate the industry or the technology that you're looking for? What is the most successful kind of matchmaking between both?
So for us at Microsoft, we're actually looking at two perspectives. One, which might be newer, the other one is the traditional one. So basically we're a tech company. So the one is, how can we still enable our customers to use our technology better? So that's the one. The other thing, and that's what personally gets me super excited about, is the sustainability partnership aspect to it. So Microsoft has super ambitious sustainability targets. So by 2030, we want to be completely carbon negative. And so that means a number of partnerships that we need to form in that space. And that's why we have also realized that, okay, with the existing technologies that are out there in the market, we actually are not able to achieve these targets on our own. So that's why we've set up what we call the Climate Innovation Fund, which is a 1 billion innovation fund that Microsoft set up to specifically support startups in the green tech space that would otherwise probably not get funding or would not be viable at this point in time because they're too expensive and customers still don't go for the premium that the green option is actually going for. So whenever we see fit to actually firstly position technology, see a sustainability partnership, and maybe adding to that, bringing something that we can jointly bring to market and help the world to decarbonize. And if all of these three pillars are somehow covered, I think we are on a good starting point for a partnership.
Maybe let's take this topic for maybe the last couple of minutes. Will startups and innovation and data and technology solve the carbon problem, solve the climate problem, or what role does it take in solving it? What do you think?
I think it is one tool that helps solving a problem and working on a problem. I think it should not be the motivation to lay back and say, yeah, technology is going to fix it all, so I don't have to, compromise any of my doings. But I think it is a tool that can help build transparency and help find new solutions. It's, for us, a tool.
Do you see NISTA as a green tech? Or how do you pitch yourself? Industrial tech or?
It depends on the pitch, to be honest, where we are. No, well, we are a deep tech company. We still are in research projects developing parts of our software to be fast and to be scalable, of course. So in that area, we deep tech. We are green tech because our main goal is to reduce energy costs, which can be translated into CO2 emissions. And we are design tech when it comes to our usability and our design. So
that's a good one, actually.
Yes.
Thomas, what about you? I mean, I've heard so often, without data, you will not be able to optimize. You will not be able to optimize carbon. You will not be able to optimize processes that could lead to reduction of carbon. So what's the role of data and how do you understand yourself in tackling these problems?
Yeah, so there's always this saying, you can't manage what you can't measure. And this can be seen internally, but in value chains and in ecosystems, and if you have this platform thinking, there's always multiple stakeholders involved, and you need a collective view across all of the parties. So you need possibilities to share selectively data, that everybody gets the parts he needs and has the clear view on that, but also you need to establish some certain form of trust. And this is what we focus on, helping them moving around the data and trusting the data, that everybody can focus on his specific experience and expertise to optimize the whole ecosystem, the whole value chain, for example.
Does it help to collaborate? Since you mentioned quite a few startups from Austria as well, does it help that you guys can meet each other in person, or is it irrelevant whether you can do it only completely remotely?
So of course it helps, and it is also important, especially not at the very beginning. So don't see or don't refuse to contact us and work with us if you're not Austrian. So this I don't want to say, but. The relationship, as when it scales, human interaction is a very important part of it, and human interaction is eased and in a constant way also digitally possible. But there is the last bit of real human interaction happening when we sit next to each other and talking to each other, because yes, in that sense you can transport a lot of in between the lines, the typical saying, which you can't do online. And especially in early stages or in developing stages of partnership, if you are not exactly talking the same language, and I'm meaning, for example, startup-ish and corporate-ish, these two languages you can easily, much easier translate if you're on the same table and looking into each other's eyes than through a camera.
Okay. There was one question, I think we touched many aspects of it. It says, what is the key challenge working on open innovation between startups and corporates? We talked quite a bit on it. If you have something to add, please feel free. But maybe I would rephrase it as well. And what is the key benefit of working together? What is the benefit for Microsoft? Why do you do that?
So basically, when we talk with our customers, they have super specific solutions. We can't address all of them. So basically, we need to rely on our partners and startups, basically, to actually address these specific challenges, where we are helpful to hopefully get access to additional customers, and startups bring in the solutions that our customers are looking for. So we see ourselves as a tech and ecosystem player, and that's where we hope also to add some value to the startup ecosystem.
And for you, corporates could be entry point not only to this specific collaboration, but also to their base of clients, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. as you said, you can't be the best in everything, and there are certain things where just bigger corporates are just better, and there are certain things where startups are better. So I think collaboration between startups, between corporates, and startups between corporates, especially when it comes to bigger problems like solving the climate crisis, solving the climate crisis, is one of the key things.
Yeah. Also between startups?
I think so too. Yes.
Yes. Does that work well? The collaboration?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, like for us, I can only speak for us now, we are always open to collaborate. It shouldn't be the elbow, spirit. It's not always easy because you really need to find the things, what are you not doing, what am I not doing to collaborate successfully. But I think it's something where we should always be open for what we always,
Tributech as well?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, we already had joint pitches at corporates, so where we tried to position a combined solution for them.
Joint pitches from startups? Experience with that as well? Is that a good thing for corporates?
It is definitely a good thing. If you ask me for experience, I'm just thinking if I had one yet, where two startups came together before we brought them together, and I'm not sure if I had, but anyhow, whoever is first, I think, yes, whatever, collaboration, finding partnerships, doing what you really are good at and focusing on that is kind of the success factor, as I said before, because we have bigger problems to solve than the ones that we do on our own. So the overall challenges that of our current society need the joint approach and the joint try on tackling that just corporations offer.
And this panel needed exactly these closing words. Thank you very much for taking time, for being with us. Anna is going now to a Microsoft event and to have a keynote there as well. All the best for that.
Thank you.
And while we sort of transform and transmit our studio to a closing setup, we have another question for you in Slido. So please join the Q&A section as well and give us some feedback. What do you wish for our next Creators Lounge? Implicates already that there will be a next one, obviously, and maybe not only one. So what do you wish for? We want your feedback. This is your call for feedback. So please let us know what do you wish for your next Creators Lounge in the Q&A section. Slido, you don't have to register. Please give us your input. We'll come back with Sebastian in a minute. We take that very gladly. More about open innovation. Okay. Yeah.
So, I think as said, open innovation is a very key factor, and I think we could also talk a little bit more about how we do that in different scenarios. Perhaps more examples.
Yeah, it was double down. Somebody else did it as well. Energy efficiency, would that be a potential topic?
Yeah, I think just as a little bit of self-critique, because that last discussion now we talked a lot about how we collaborate and what we do, and we did not so much focus on the actual great solutions that the startups, Tributech and NIST are offering. Perhaps next time we even deep dive a little bit on that one more, and also what at the end that all brings. So really, it's not just about on high level, but we actually tackle great solutions with them. So maybe next time we focus more on actual problems that we solve.
Showcases that come out. Yeah, that's great. Excited for the next event, collaboration. results of collaboration.
Good one.
Good one. Green innovations. Yeah, never enough of that. New business models. Yeah, maybe also to discuss the business model part a bit. Yeah,
that is true, because a lot of also what we've seen today and heard about today, and we didn't talk about it, but and yes, that's a huge topic that we are thinking of, namely how to digitally or how to transform ourselves and our ways of how we offer our solutions to our customers in a scalable way. So to really create impact, and also this is what startups help us to understand better.
Business model again, digitalization, more success cases, as we mentioned. This is more success stories also. The more about open innovation, number one, the strongest. More success stories, the second strongest, and then something about business models, green innovation. In any case, thank you very, very much for this input. We really mean that, and we're going to work with that input for the next event. Sebastian, what are your takeaways of today's day?
My takeaways are, like always, thanks for having us. It was a pleasure again. I think what we want to offer here, and also thanks for that feedback, what we want to provide here is a platform of communication, of a platform of discussion, and I think that we managed it. So having corporates, having startups here, having universities with us, we tried this time to also involve a little bit more startup pitches. You'll mention that there will be the way of interacting with those startups later on in the networking phase, but it was great. It was really exactly what we want to. Nice talks, nice conversations, and having people engaged with us to grow the network. The 64, I guess it was, people who have not joined, hopefully join next time again.
Yes.
And we're gonna have the same number of new joining people again and again, so to grow the whole ecosystem again.
Fantastic. I think you're really doing very, very important work, and I strongly believe as well that the future lies in collaboration. The challenges are too big for anybody to solve it by themselves, and you are one of the pioneers in this sector. So we rely on you, and thank you very, very much that you guys are doing that. And as Sebastian mentioned, now the networking will start. So you have the opportunity to visit all startups. Please, you take the opportunity to understand their solutions better. They're there for you live. Just go to the networking section of the tool and interact with them. Ask them what could be the use case for you, how could you collaborate together, how could you do solutions, and maybe also business together. At the end of the day, we have to create solutions that find their markets and that find sustainable growth for themselves. And I think this event, for me at least, was very, very one of my favorite events, really, because it's a learning session, it's a connecting session, and it contributes so much to the ecosystem, what we believe from day one of our own company. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the networking. Sebastian, thank you again. And we see you at the next Creators Launch.
For sure. See you then.
See you then. Goodbye.
Bye.